Yeah.
Wow,
Love
new
it.
music.
Love it. Greetings, friends, family, and others, and Danny out in England.
He is going to be so appreciative
This
of that.
is, I'm telling you, Dolly's in the studio, so
That's me.
there it is. All right. It is another rousing rendition of the Mighty Monkey Book Club, or not a book club. The Mighty Monkey Not a Book Club.
Which may eventually talk about a book. But
Someday
for
may
now,
talk about a book.
There's too much good TV.
There you go. And good movies out there.
Movies.
So this is your host, Chris. With me, as always, Tanya and Billy.
Hey.
And not always, but often, my bouncing baby boy, Ian.
That's me.
The legendary Dolly.
Hello.
Hello, Dolly. And in the studio for a second, it's a record second time in a row as of late. The Almighty, the Miss, the okay, no, I can't say that. Okay, never mind. It's Becca.
This is why I don't come, guys.
Oh, no, come on. We love you, Becca.
No, get back.
We haven't had a proper intern in the room in ages. By the way, Becca, you're fired.
Okay.
I fired her last episode.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Did you fire her?
I did.
All right. Well, Becca, you're hired.
Now you're fired.
Now you're fired. All right. So
Becca's
today,
confused.
she's a high school kid. What do you want? That's
Who's on summer vacation?
That's the natural definition of a high school student is confused. All right. I remember.
Right.
Confused, alone, without a phone.
Some of us never got any better. I'll tell you that much straight.
How did geometry go for you?
What's that?
How did geometry go for you?
How did geometry go? I failed. I went to summer school for geometry, which
I
apparently is
almost
a family tradition now in my household.
Not it.
Ouch. Ian, you haven't had the geometry course yet.
Yes. But
It's coming.
The geometry sophomore year at the Aquinas Institute. Yes, there are 2 francs in, 2 francs out.
Strangely enough, I did really well in geometry.
It was
I did
trig
really
that
well in
I did
math.
well in trig.
Yeah.
It was geometry that I
I can't do geometry
killed.
now,
Yeah.
though, because I've been out of it so long.
I'm a
but
giant math nerd. Like, I asked somebody for an average the other day. I'm like, what's the average amount of hours this person works? She gave me a range. I'm like, does this person not know what range and average means?
range is the difference between the lowest and the highest number. Come on.
And by the way, I'm so old that when I took geometry, triangles had just been invented.
Did you have to do the truth tables, the P not Q?
That doesn't sound familiar.
I did those.
Yeah.
Or did you do much forgot them, apparently?
Yeah.
No.
but
so
I
what are we really going to be talking about today, Tanya?
We're going to be talking about the
The 1988 dark comedy Heathers.
yes. I was trying to look and see what year it was.
Yeah.
Thank you for jumping right in.
So our first
which I didn't see until 2017.
Wow. So
Yay.
the very first episode of the Not a Book Club, we talked about an episode of Black Mirror.
Yes.
And now we're switching from dark social
episode.
commentary to dark comedy. I like the way this is going because apparently
There's like a dark sense to this.
well, I'm very
What's next?
dystopian from what I'm told, so life is good.
Was this a dystopian type movie? Would you?
To a particular degree, I think.
Dystopian high school.
Yeah.
For people out
Well, I
there,
think it's a really kind of a really jaded look at society, I think,
I just
to be honest.
don't.
for people out there, what does dystopian mean?
You got a smart device in front of you, look it up.
With what Wi-Fi? I don't have data.
Hold on. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? He's asking questions, and that's what we want the youth of today to do: is ask questions when they don't understand.
Yes, as
He's
opposed to the
engaged.
usual question that he asks is, "Hey, may I?" or "Hey, can I? I want to go on the computer. Hey, can I have you re-up my subscription to Old Republic?"
Yes.
That's the question I usually get. So
No, usually it's Warcraft.
I was 5 when Heathers came out.
you were 5? I was in college when Heathers came out.
I wasn't alive.
I was in
I
high
was
school.
non-existent.
Yep, we have 2 people at the table who didn't even exist when the movie
I was
made.
5 years out of high school.
Yep, I was 1.
Okay.
So I didn't watch it till the early 90s when I got a obsession with Christian Slater.
In that movie, he was the bomb.
Oh,
Thank you. Oh,
Wait,
where's
oh, come on, Billy!
that's not a rim shot. If that works. There
I
it
hit
is.
the wrong button.
That's okay. Hey, that was good though. I like that riff. All right, so read off
a
your definition of
dystopia
dystopia.
is a community or society that is undesirable or frightening.
Oh, yeah, that explains
That
that.
explains high school.
explains high school
That explains high
completely.
school in a nutshell, doesn't it? All right, so 1988, Heathers comes out. It stars Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, with
Doherty,
Shannen Doherty,
Kim Walker.
who passed away in 99.
Really?
99,
Yeah.
she passed away. 2001 or 99, somewhere in that area.
I didn't look up her.
She had some serious health issues.
Oh,
I looked
that's
it up.
too bad.
She
died in
was
2001.
32 of a brain tumor because there was a thing that was mentioned in like the 23 things that you might not know about Heather's. Is she makes a reference about a brain tumor in the movie, and then 12
Dies of a
years
brain
later,
tumor. Oh,
she
wow.
dies of a brain tumor.
There's an irony there. So it is a look at high school popularity from a very twisted angle and how it can go all very, very wrong.
Fast.
So
It did.
Yeah.
It
It went wrong. It went wrong in a hurry. So the great thing about this movie, I liked it right off the bat because a lot of movies these days will take a lot of time to build up and show you how everything kind of fits together. The origin story is always very important, especially in the comic book movies, where Heather's, our hero, Winona Ryder's character, Veronica, is already one of the group. She's already part of the group. She's already kind of dealing with being with one of the Heathers. And then the other three popular girls, they're all named Heather. So that's how you get the movie's name. So you see Veronica right off the bat. She's one of the Heathers. She's hanging out with the popular girls. She's trying to up her status. She's going out and socializing with the everybody in the school, and she catches Christian Slater's eye. He's the new kid in school early on, but they
He
really
was
don't.
cute.
Yeah, they don't really start talking.
He was strange.
And
right
you
out the way.
mentioned how fast things go downhill.
It went like
Uh-huh.
He was the catalyst. He was the new
was.
kid in school.
Yep.
The Heathers was the status quo at the school.
Right.
The social hierarchy.
Yep.
Was
And
the status quo, and he sort of
upset the apple cart.
took it apart.
Well, right off the bat, I mean, he's being accosted by the two jocks, and he pulls out a gun. And starts firing, and it makes the scene cuts, making it look like he actually shot them. When you find out later, he was suspended because he just fired past them. And
I was
Or
terrified
blanks.
for a second.
yeah, that was like, holy crap, that
That
happens.
was fast.
And especially, I mean, you would not see a movie like that made today because of
No.
everything that has happened with school violence.
And think about it, it was a precursor to Columbine in that Christian Slater's wearing a black trench coat.
Right.
He was the outsider that the jocks picked on.
Uh-huh.
It was, when did Columbine hack? 2000?
Columbine was
90 something?
It was
No.
90 something. Columbine.
No, Columbine wasn't really like outsiders. I think, if I remember correctly, the main guy was like actually quite popular.
I think the impression,
Yeah.
though, is
Yeah.
that they were outsiders. But
When did that happen? Columbine.
1999.
1999. Okay.
Well, I thought it was just really strange that because then after he did that shooting and then the Heathers were talking about it and they're like, oh, he's just going to get suspended for a couple days or whatever. But in this day and age, bringing a weapon to school,
Let alone firing it
let
off.
alone firing it, I mean,
Jail.
minimum
Minimum jail
arrested,
time.
minimum 5-day suspension or 10-day suspension, superintendent's hearing plus jail time and things like that. And they're just like, oh, whatever, he's just going to get suspended. And
Yeah.
being in the educational field myself, I'm just like, are you guys idiots?
That's mind blowing, isn't it? But that was it was
but it
a
was
look at
also
the culture of the time. It was 1988.
But I'm
We
just
didn't
like,
have a lot
holy
of the
cow.
travesties and the horrors that we've seen in the past 20 years alone. So anyway, where do we go from there? It goes downhill really fast.
It was like that day in school, and then what is it, like that night something?
It was like the next day or the next night is when the lead Heather.
Heather takes Veronica, Winona Ryder's character, to the
college
party.
where she's essentially escapes a date rape,
Right.
and then wants to
Get back at her.
wants to get back at her.
Just wants to get revenge.
Half jokes about killing her, and Slater's character JD thinks that's a swell idea.
Yeah. And you can tell he's got the agenda all the
And
way
then
because
this is
the whole
when you
time
realized.
he's not quite right in the head.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that kid. Now,
But
Dolly,
like you sent, I forget if it was off the air or we've already mentioned it. The Jack Nicholson, the channeling
Yeah.
of Nicholson,
Yeah,
is
that-
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about it on air yet, but Christian Slater, early on in his career, people were making those parallels often because of the way he was delivering his lines, the squinting of the eye, the delivery, the tenor of his voice. He was very much channeling like a young Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson has made a career out of playing these characters who are off-center
He
or
could have been
unhinged.
the son of Murphy from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's also a good movie.
Yeah.
I love ones.
We'll put that on the list for something down the road. We'll talk about something classic. But anyway, so yeah, these things happen, and Veronica at the college party embarrasses the lead Heather, and Heather's like, "No, that's it. You're ruined. Come Monday, you're
done.
You're done. I'm gonna ruin your life, and all that other stuff's happening, and so Veronica is responding to that, and JD gets swept up in this over the weekend, and he's like, well, okay, let's just go, we can go scare her, but you can tell there's something in the corner spark of his eye that there's a little bit more. He's got a little bit more in mind, and while she's trying to come up with a good mixture to
milk and orange.
And orange juice just to make her throw up.
Yeah, she just wants to make her puke, to be embarrassed and or whatever, or to feel lousy.
Yep.
And JD he's got some other ideas.
He pulls out the all-purpose drain cleaner.
All-purpose drain cleaner.
Oh, Big Blue.
Yep. And then they do he pours out a cup, and she pours out her mixture in a cup, and he covers them both, and he does the switch.
So I missed all the switch type thing. I just thought
it happens very fast.
Yeah.
And again, this was 30 years ago, so the sensibility is different. The way we look at things is different, and people are like, oh yeah, well, okay, that happened. Whereas nowadays we're like, she should never. That was stupid. She should never have let that happen.
Well, then at that point, I'm like, okay, everyone just said, oh, she committed suicide. There was no investigation, no forensics, no whatever.
Well, we're so used to CSI. That's
I'm doing a lot of NCIS right now, but still, even 20 some odd years ago,
you forget one of the plot points is that Winona Ryder can perfectly copy anyone's handwriting.
Right.
So writes a suicide note in Heather's handwriting.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it was Ian who made the point. Is like, wait a minute, our fingerprints aren't there? Aren't fingerprints a thing? And I'm like, yeah, but it's
not
also,
then.
Not as it was. They were paying as much attention to it.
No,
it's not as commonly used, but also, it's the way we look at our entertainment is different now than it was 30 years ago. We have been so inundated with NCIS and CSI and all the rest of the alphabet soup and all the crime dramas and how they have these meticulous forensic things. Bones, for instance. She can strip a skeleton and tell exactly what it had for lunch. Wait, what? And that exists now. That's what we're used to now.
Yeah.
30 years ago, crime dramas were good old-fashioned police work, beating down the doors, knocking on doors, and finding people and cornering the bad guy. And so
when did Law and Order come out?
Well, this movie wasn't concerned with the details like that. It was more interested in looking at the social mores and
the
exactly
the caste system of high school and teen suicide.
Right. So it wasn't going to get caught up in the forensics, which even modern day throwaway movies are going to dabble in forensics a little bit because it's the popular culture thing to do. But 30 years ago, it wasn't.
That would have been made now. There'd been the one cop that's kind of poking around and asking
they didn't
more
even
questions.
There were police officers, but they were like just field cops.
Let me make
behind the high school when the two boys got shot. And they were.
You just brought up something I wanted to mention because I love obscure, arcane pop culture references.
Okay,
those two cops, if you remember, and I made a note of it, were Officer McCord and Officer Milner. Now in the 70s, there was a cop TV show called Adam 12.
Oh my God, really?
Where I
remember that show.
Where the officers were played by Martin Milner and Kent McCord.
So it was the actors' names.
Yes, they used the actors' names for the cop names.
Damn, that is obscure. That is
but
awesome.
I didn't notice it
awesome.
then, but when I saw it, I go, they're using the Adam 12 actors' names for the cop names.
That is amazing. I would never have picked that up.
I love little Easter eggs like that, though.
That's great.
That's the beauty of filmmaking to me. Like those little Easter eggs that filmmakers like to throw in for other nerds to catch.
So the first three deaths in this movie, you had you had the Heather, and then the two jocks were murders that were made to look like suicide. So it then becomes, and then the rest of the school treats it as they were suicides, and so everybody's responding to the suicides, and suicides becoming this
the heavy girl.
Dump truck is what.
Martha. Her name was Dampa Stonk or whatever, but they call her Martha Dump Truck. Yeah,
and that was an unfortunate thing. But she was like, she became the stereotypical target.
She saw how the popular kids were sort of being glorified, or
they were being glorified. Like at one point, Veronica says something in depth. Heather had a heart. Ram had a brain, and there was
they
became more than they were in life.
Smart.
they were more than they were in life.
Yes.
And so
they became even more popular.
Exactly. And so this poor person who'd been abused, this heavyset girl had been abused and abused and abused, and she sees that the popular people were becoming glorified, and she just took an assessment of her life, walked out in traffic. So the what could have been the fourth death in the movie, luckily, she survived the accident. But she was injured, and they were like, okay, that was actually a legitimate suicide attempt. And that's when Veronica really looks at things and goes,
oh boy.
Not that it had already, she was already looking at it knowing it had gotten out of hand, but she's like, now it's really, the wheels have come off of this train at this point. It's like, you could see how her character was shifting.
Things were about to blow up.
She was already becoming, oh, God.
Wow. You haven't even gotten to that part of the movie.
Damn.
Well, this was at the end. Well,
Spoilers.
Away.
Yeah.
He's already past the blowing up part.
Oh, my Lord. That was good, though. That was good. But I'm looking at how the relationship between Veronica and JD, they were in love with each other. Well, they were lust with each other at the very least. They were kind of becoming accomplices to what was going on. And she was kind of rolling with the fact that he was becoming the psychotic murderer. But then there was the rift was starting to form. And then when this thing happened to Martha, where she actually was a legitimate, you could see they became less allies and more adversaries at that point. Veronica was now out to stop JD.
And if you remember that the relationship between the Heathers isn't perfect. They're friends because they're the popular girls.
Nowadays, they would call them frenemies.
Frenemies.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember, Shannen Doherty's character, Heather Duke, was bulimic. But once the lead Heather died, she started eating chicken. Like the weight had been taken off her shoulder, or her bulimia had been relieved. She wasn't worried about.
And then it was the middle Heather that even tried to. She was going to try to take her own life.
Yes,
and Veronica
she did.
stopped
That's
her. So you could see how even. You were talking about caste system earlier. You could see how the popular kids, and this is
whoever the lead Heather was had the red scrunchie.
Had the red, because
red is the power color,
right? And then so Heather Duke was starting to wear the red scrunchie after the first Heather had died, and then there's a great scene at the end. We'll get to it in a little bit.
And then there was the song that they made mention to.
Oh, that's right.
Teenage
The
Suicide.
big teenage suicide. Don't
which
do it.
I think was a song that was written for the movie.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was never a real.
That
real
became
song.
a major plot point.
Yeah,
actually, yeah.
And so you see in like the caste system, you see the popular people, you see the jocks, you see the nerds, and the nerds were very stereotypical nerds, and all the people in between. And then you see the dissension even among the popular people, which is a real thing.
And you think about the teachers in the school. There was the hippie teacher that the other teachers just sort of
stereotypically over the top hippie teacher.
They just sort of dealt with, but she was also a little bit of a media whore. It turned out,
right? Yeah,
she
was looking
had
for
an
10 minutes
agenda
of fame.
too.
Yeah, everybody. That's the thing. That's a great point. It's the agenda of everybody, and high school is such a wonderful microcosm of the real world on several levels. And then you're in the middle of it right now, and Ian's going to get into it this fall. So your school's kind of not so much inoculated from it, but it's just a little bit of a different vibe over there. He's like, yeah, whatever. But the popular kids. What do they do to be popular? How do they stay popular? Is it how important it is to be popular? And I mean, that was never me. I was never that guy.
Yeah, no,
that's
why we're all in this room.
Slater's character, JD, it's like he was that outsider who didn't care about your status. He showed interest in actually her.
Yeah.
Which every girl wants a guy who's gonna actually show interest in them, and that's why Christian Slater came off as so dreamy in that movie. But I mean, that's I think what was a big draw for her to him was that it was he's not looking at me because I'm popular, or with the Heathers he's looking at me because he's looking at me, and then obviously things get out of control.
Okay,
but
yeah, and then like any good story, things have to get out of control because if it was in control, it'd probably be a boring story. But yeah, I mean it's just weird. It's just weird. What do you got, Tanya?
I'm just perusing different things about Heathers and hopping over to the fictional character Jason Dean.
There was a quote that caught my attention. So
was Jason Dean an homage to James Dean?
I think so. I mean, the character had a very interesting relationship. You could see how
with his dad.
Oh, that was
the
relationship with the dad was weird.
I think that's where Veronica was starting to pick up because his dad kind of blew up one of the buildings.
Well, his dad was a demolitionist.
Yeah.
He was a contractor who specialized in that sort of thing.
But the way they would sort of mock play each other's roles in the relationship.
Right. JD would be like, "Hey, son," and the father would be like, "Well, Dad," and
hey,
the way they bantered back and forth to each other, it wasn't quite
right.
normal.
It was playful, but it wasn't.
There was something weird
There
about
was something dark underneath it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking at quotes right now. I'm hoping because there was one I remember caught my eye.
Some of his quotes.
Okay, well, one more piece of, and this might be a reach, but I think I'm right about this.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the high school is Westerberg High.
Yes.
Now, in that time period, in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a musician by the name of Paul Westerberg who had a band called The Replacements.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think Westerberg High is a nod to...
Yes, it says number
is
4
it really?
in the 23 things you didn't know about Heathers. Number 4 was the high school was named after the singer and Winona Ryder's favorite band. Westerberg High was named after the replacement singer-songwriter Paul Westerberg.
And do you think...
At one point in the film, Christian Slater's character JD says, "Color Me Impressed," which references a song by the Replacements.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
So
And I was thinking even replacements, how the Heathers replaced each other. Or I don't know if I'm going too far with that.
Sure, Victoria also said that if we just kill another one will go back into its place.
Yeah. Nature abhors a vacuum. There's always going to be somebody to step up to try to be the next Heather.
Now, do you think this movie could be remade with all the social media? It would be even darker, or
Ouch.
A movie like this remade today.
I don't think.
I don't want to see that.
I mean, if you go on Netflix, it's probably
probably
been
already
remade
there
like a million times.
Well,
Not
here's
as Heathers, but this type of story has been retold over and over again.
Yeah, I mean,
like Mean Girls from Disney,
or even
basically
Freaks and
the
Geeks
Heathers.
is maybe my all-time favorite
right.
show.
I mean, I read some write-ups of Heathers where it was basically a precursor to Freaks and Geeks and what did you just mention?
Mean Girls by
Mean
Disney.
Girls and things like that. Here's the twist. I think it already has been, but as a drama. 13 Reasons.
Oh.
That was a book.
That was a book. I know, but where did the inspiration for the book come from other than obvious real-life issues?
I think it was based off of a true story.
Okay.
And actually, the teenage suicide thing, there was an Elton John song. I'm sorry I keep going back to music and that type of
that's
thing.
your
But,
thing. It's all
good.
there was I think it was 1972, Elton John did a song called I Think I'm Going to Kill Myself about teenage suicide. And was there anything in your 23 things you didn't know about Heathers that maybe someone liked that song or no?
No, I didn't see anything in regards to that. It's more like that number 10, Shannen Doherty had issues with all the swearing. Her mom was on set with her, and she didn't like to use all the swear words. Lizanne Falk lied about her age to play Heather McNamara. She claimed to be 18, but she was really 23.
Oh,
wow.
So things like that. The book was supposed to be Catcher in the Rye, not Moby Dick.
Okay. Which is okay.
Which
There's a social.
But they
commentary
never
book.
got
Moby
permission
Dick.
from J.D. Salinger,
I
so they
see.
couldn't use it.
Gotcha. All right. So when we watched it on Netflix yesterday, and as the movie shuts off and it's rolling its credits and whatnot, Netflix will always invariably say, "Oh, you like this movie? Here's something you might also want to watch." That's a lot like it, and that 13 Reasons came up. So I'm like, okay, so they're seeing almost like a before and after. But that quote that I was talking about a few minutes ago, that I knew there was something going on, and it fits in with the fact that we like talking about Black Mirror. And we like talking about technology, and we like talking about society and how it reflects in the entertainment that we watch. JD has a quote, and it's about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through, where he's railing against the situation. And he says, "Your society nods its head at any horror the American teenager can think to bring upon itself." Just nods its head. Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. And that was 30 years ago it's making this observation. What do we do these days? Here in 2017, with all of our smartphones and all of our internet and all of the the media that we have, Facebook and MySpace and all that other crap that's out there, what do? We've become so desensitized to everything that goes on around us.
Well, desensitized. This is real life now. Just this past week on the radio, we talked about a story. Did you see those despicable, heinous kids that watched the guy drown?
Oh God, yeah, I'd heard about that. They recorded it with their smartphones.
Yes, and laughed at him and mocked him as he was drowning.
Yeah.
what in the world?
What is going on here? And I mean, it's like 30 years ago, we're already making the commentary. We're nodding our head at the worst things that these kids can think of. It's like, all right, what are we doing to try to rectify that? What are we doing to break that cycle? At one point in Heathers, the teachers and the administrators, after things are really starting to, things are happening, bodies are dropping, and things are going on. The principal is even like, we really have to kind of stop and take a look at what's going on here. But the hippie wins out. She gets her kumbaya love-in moment that she turns into the media circus.
Well, if you really think about society, though, it has changed in the way we view these type of things. Because before, in the 80s, it was a comedy. It was a dark comedy.
Yeah. That
all these things were going on. Now, if we play some, this same type of storyline, it's going to be, Lifetime movies. It's going to be a
very
drama,
special episode of Blossom.
It's going to be very, it's going to be put in the dark where it really is and shown that no, this is not funny. This is actually sad. This is actually tragic. This is dramatic. This is not funny for a kid to blow up a school. Where in the 80s it was like, haha, that doesn't happen. So it was kind of taken lightheartedly. Where now we're taking it a little more seriously in the media, and I think as a society we've been trying. I would say. I mean, people aren't always following suit, but I think I see the media trying. Like 13 Reasons Why is a drama, and it's on there, and it's to kind of bring that to light that this is a sad situation that's going on.
Gotcha.
It's not humor.
Okay.
Just maybe something I thought was kind of funny, and just the way times have changed. Back in 1988, the fact that bottled water was considered gay.
Oh, yeah.
Quote, unquote.
Yeah,
Mineral
that
water.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Mineral
water. That was. Need I say more? Yeah, that was.
I say it with my Poland Springs.
And that's the thing is, if this was a movie that was made today, exactly the way it was 30 years ago, and released with all the same lines and all the same direction and all the same filming and angles and everything like that, what an explosion would occur by the homosexual accusation, the way they were handling that whole angle between the two football players.
Well, there was a musical made a few years ago.
I'd heard you were telling me about that a little earlier, but I never knew about that. Heather's the musical. Tell us a little bit about that.
2012 and 2015.
Uh-huh.
I don't know the exact year.
Okay.
I just know it appeared more around like my freshman year, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically just they took the movie, made it into a musical. It's pretty much the same idea. You still got like the three Heathers with three colors, and you got Veronica in there, just like what's going on. As far as I know, it's pretty much the same as the movie.
Really? Okay. But with more music?
Yes. With
Okay.
a lot more music. Music's more storytelling.
I'm going to have to track that down, see if I can find a recording of it or something, because I would really be interested to see what that's all
That'd
about.
be interesting.
If you do, I'll join you.
Okay. Now, where did you see it?
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it, you just heard about it.
I heard about it, and I came across like one of the songs, Dead Girl Walking, which is after Heather's like, you're going to be dead on Monday.
Okay.
And
So
she,
she's
like,
threatening
goes-
Veronica after the college party.
Yeah, that's the gist. And she like goes to JD's house and is just like, yeah, I'm about to die. Let's just get this over with.
Okay. All
Now,
right.
after the first murder, after Veronica and JD kill,
They poison off Heather.
There's the scene in the school where Veronica goes into the shower and sort of tries to
Fully
cleanse
clothed.
herself.
Yeah, fully clothed. She
Lady
jumps in the
Macbeth
shower.
reference?
Oh my God, yes. I didn't even think of it until you said it, but that moment had struck me early on when I saw it. You know, she was trying. You could definitely see the emotion there. It's easy to pick that out, but the Lady Macbeth reference I was not thinking of. That's awesome pickup right there. I like that.
It was off Broadway in 2014.
Off Broadway in 2014. Okay.
Heather's the musical. The musical's a rock musical with music, lyrics, and a book by Lawrence O'Keefe and Kevin Murphy.
Okay.
The first stuff kind of it shattered the way how you had to think of the movie.
Oops, right.
Yeah, just get right in on that microphone, buddy.
It kind of shattered the way you had to look at the movie, and it made you think, "Oh, this is going to be great."
All right, and in what way? Tell me a little more about what you're thinking.
It either you could have taken it two ways. They just killed somebody, and now they have to hide it. And then there's the other way. How many more?
Okay, so you can see where you can kind of see how it's going to escalate. You
Yeah.
kind of see how it's going to
It
escalate.
went from like a fun 16 candles, like teen hierarchy and
Yeah.
in
She's
high
going to make
school
fun of
to,
that girl.
oh crap, bodies were dropping.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then it leads up to towards the end, like I was saying, Veronica and JD go from allies to adversaries, and Veronica makes it her mission to stop JD, and it becomes his quest to take out the whole school. He starts it off by getting into Heather Duke's good graces, and basically starts manipulating her like he was manipulating Veronica, and she goes around getting this whole. She was sent
There's
out,
a petition.
There was a petition to get a particular band, the band that came with that song,
did the Suicide song.
To have them come and perform at the school, not realizing he'd put a sticker apparently over the top of this thing. So when you peel the sticker aside, it becomes not so much a petition to get a band to come to the school, but it's a suicide note for the whole school. And so it's like, this is how he wants to ramp it up. He's not just going to take out the people who are pissing him off. He's not going to try and take out the people who are threatening him. He's going to take out everybody. He wants to take out the whole school, and this is where the whole subplot of his father being a demolitions contractor comes to play.
And his mother being blown up in
a building.
Yeah.
Which, with the reference, the way they tell the story, it's even if the mother was committed suicide.
Yes.
The mother willingly walked into a building that was about to be brought down. Mm-hmm. So there's this suicide is this thing that's always there in the whole core of the movie, and then Veronica, dutifully and heroically is able to stop him, and then he blows himself up in the school courtyard at the end.
One, just another. I try and pick up on little things.
Okay.
And there's obviously Veronica with Winona Ryder's character is Veronica. Her best friend,
her childhood best friend was Betty.
So at one point they referenced Betty and Veronica,
and I immediately thought of you.
And Betty even calls Veronica Ronnie, which is what Betty always called Veronica in the Archie comics. Yeah.
Okay.
They call her A Ronnie. So. I
thought
more
Easter eggs for
Riverdale.
you. Is that? Well, yeah.
It's very common.
And that Riverdale may have been or Westerberg may have been a dark version of Riverdale.
That's what I can see that. So who was Jughead?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Welcome back, Tanya.
Hi, Tanya. Tanya's back in the studio.
Oh, we said so much fun and funny stuff and interesting.
Surprised.
Oh, we were killing it while
Becca said a thing, and then there was another thing, and then Becca said another thing again, and we were
Don't
all
worry,
like,
I'll be able to hear it.
It
we were
was stunning.
laughing.
This one I'll have to make sure I really listen to.
You have to. Yes, you have to. And then we were talking about you behind your back because it's a high school thing.
It is a high school thing.
Yeah.
Don't let me. I don't want to even relive that.
I mean,
You were a cheerleader
I was a cheerleater in high school.
with the skirt and everything. I saw the pictures.
Yes, with the skirt and everything.
I mean, the studio
I
was
was a drama
blowing
kid.
up with laughter.
Oh, yeah.
Not
And then
exactly.
my thing on it logged myself out because I didn't touch it enough. So yeah.
You didn't touch it enough.
now I can't even give myself a ring
So
shot.
going back to Katy
Wow.
Perry and X-Wings.
Yeah, Katy Perry's flying in that X-Wing now.
Yeah.
Isn't that every man's
my
problem?
God.
Something like that.
Thank you.
Wow.
All right.
Gee, wow. Okay. Anyway, so we get to the bitter end, and where Veronica has confronted JD. She has prevented him from blowing up the school and killing everybody.
And even faked
that
her
wasn't
own
even the-
suicide.
she faked her own suicide
And
to
that
do
wasn't
it.
even supposed to be the original ending.
What was supposed to be the original ending?
The original screenplay where he would successfully blow up Westerberg High, but the prom commences in heaven is one of the
Interesting.
episodes. Is one of the ending options, and then another alternate ending. Martha stabs Veronica.
What for?
What?
That was just they're just different parts to the original screenplay for alternate endings.
So we
So they
have
want the best option is what we're
we
finding.
have the
Yeah.
ending where JD blows himself up, and there's poor Winona Ryder all soot and blackened.
Takes out a cigarette.
Smoke
Takes
a
out a
cigarette.
cigarette. She's smoking the cigarette that was lit by the explosion.
And you know, at that time, smoking on school grounds
On
was
school
legal
ground. Yeah,
because they
it
didn't.
was, and they were all doing it. That was amazing. And so she's walking down the hall, and there's all the kids milling around, and she runs into Heather Duke, played by the illustrious
Shannen
Shannen Doherty, and Veronica whips Heather around, pulls the red hair scrunchie off, puts it on her own disheveled hair, and goes, "Heather, my love, there's a new sheriff in town." And you see this whole change in I am going. This is how Veronica is the Jedi that will bring balance to the Force. Really, that's you see that she is now determined to say enough of these social norms. I'm going to be the popular girl, and I'm going to correct things. Because the first thing she does is this poor abused Martha who's rolling around on a scooter because of her injuries from the suicide attempt. She goes right over to her and she goes, my date kind of flaked on me for the prom. Do you want to come hang out, watch movies, make popcorn, and just relax and be friends? So you can see that she's right off the bat. She wants to say, I don't give a damn if you're popular or not. I'm going to be nice to you.
Which we found out earlier in the movie that at one point Martha and Heather Duke were best friends.
Yes.
And at some point
and
they said
Veronica
they
and somebody else were best friends way back when.
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing how popularity, makes you turn your back on the things that are important to you. That was kind of like I got the message from that, is that if you want to be popular, you have to make sacrifices to be popular. And me personally, I would prefer to have the friends than the popularity myself. But that's me.
Yeah, you have to kind of adapt yourself to fit the mold.
Right.
I never fit a mold.
I don't think there's a mold that could fit any of us right now.
Now, did you recognize Veronica's mom?
Veronica's mom was I can't think of the actress's name. The grandmother from Charmed. Yeah, I pointed that out to him. That's how he knows.
It's okay.
Oh.
The priest with ortho. From Beetlejuice.
Yes, from Beetlejuice. Yeah.
I thought. Yeah, I was trying to figure out where I knew him from.
The principal was a veteran character actor. I've seen him in tons of different things. Who else did we recognize?
I just loved Otho. I was like, he needs a white suit.
Was croquet ever popular? I don't remember this phase of people playing croquet.
Rich people like croquet, apparently.
It was kind of a stereotype.
The last time I played croquet, I think I was intoxicated. I know that much. So I think it was college. So that's pretty much it. I think that was the last time I played croquet. Yes, Becca.
The thing about the croquet is that I didn't see this movie. I didn't start watching it until last night, and then I passed out. So
yeah, and you were watching at my house earlier.
I tried.
Yeah.
So when I first heard about the musical from other people, I'd always see it's the three Heathers, and they just got the croquet mallets over their backs, and I was like, and they're like, oh, it's about murder, and I just thought it was the Heathers that were killing people, and Veronica and JD are just stop that.
Yeah.
But it was actually
the movie, and I was like, oh, that's not what's happening.
Yes.
I found some of it.
They were not a murder gang.
Just so disjointed, trying to pay attention to certain things because, she's writing in her diary, and then it would go back to something, and it jumped back to this, so.
Well, at one point there was the whole dream sequence too.
Oh yeah.
So it was some of it I just found a little bit disjointed, trying to follow along, and then they went to go and do one of the croquet shots, and Veronica's head's in the ground.
Oh, right. That was the early scene.
I'm just like, what? I was just like, I go, okay, are the three Heathers going to take this one out? That's because she was talking about being part of the popular, and then it ended up being her house that they were at, that they were taking advantage of the person. So I just had lots of issues with that.
So here's some trivia on IMDb page about Heathers. Brad Pitt auditioned for the role of JD. He was rejected because he was considered too nice.
That's on the 23 things you didn't know about Heathers also.
I didn't. This is very subtle, and I still haven't figured out why this was. But I'm not completely sure. But I actually rewatched the movie. After you sent me up to my room.
And to the point you will get to is?
Because the cigarette. The cigarette that she pulls out at the end of the movie was given to her by JD when she in the car scene.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, so why is that significant to you then?
I'm trying to see. I'm thinking of different reasons, but I think it was a sign.
Like a sign of things to come?
Yeah.
All right. That's a sign of things to come too.
JD was named after Winona Ryder's favorite author, J.D. Salinger.
Okay, who was going to have his book featured if he'd given permission. Gotcha. The role of Heather McNamara, the lead Heather, was originally offered to 17-year-old Heather Graham. Heather's parents refused to let her take the role because of the dark subject matter, but apparently they didn't prevent her from being in Boogie Nights. So.
Sounds fun. And
one thing I looked up, because if you notice at the very beginning of the movie and at the very end of the movie, there's the song "Que Sera Sera," which was
it's the bookends at the beginning.
It was popularized by Doris Day, but Doris Day wouldn't allow her recording in the movie because she didn't want it associated with the profanity and all that. So they used a folk singer named Sid Straw in the beginning and Sly and the Family Stone at the end, which I really liked. So.
Jennifer Connelly and Justine Bateman turned down the role of Veronica.
Huh.
And
okay, I can see
Winona
Justine Bateman
Ryder
doing
wanted really wanted the role, but they didn't think she was pretty enough to play the lead because she was very pale. She had just come from the character in Beetlejuice, so she said she went to Macy's at Beverly Center and had him do a complete makeover on her.
Look at that.
And she was 15.
She was 15 in that movie? She did not look 15 in that movie.
Yep.
And, of course, Christian Slater and Winona Ryder dated during the filming and promotion of the movie because, dating co-stars, I've never heard that story before.
You're spending a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
And getting friendly with each other.
It only made $1.1 million in the theaters.
Yeah, but 1.1 in today's money is still like what?
It still wasn't a hit. It became a hit later on cable.
But it was made for $3 million.
Cult.
So
so it bombed at the box office, but it became I heard it behind me, cult. I heard that. Yeah, it became the cult classic. At this point, I'm wondering how much movie that money is made. Yeah, okay. I need more Twix bars in my life. So how much money that movie has made?
I don't know.
In 30 years.
But it says this is interesting. The film's first scene was actually the last one to be shot because we know that they don't necessarily shoot things in order. By that time, Lisanne Falk had cut her hair and had to wear a wig.
Oh, wow.
She
was the tall Heather, the middle Heather.
Yeah.
Okay.
The blonde one, the whatever.
Okay.
I read a great quote about this movie where they referred to it as social media before social media. It celebrates mediocrity and suffering.
Wow. It's true. It really is. That's very true.
It was filmed in 32 days.
Okay.
Well, considering I only had like maybe 2 or 3 sets, I don't see.
Yeah. It was basically
high school, Veronica's house,
Veronica, Heather's,
the college. I mean,
and that's
church.
The
church.
And the church. Yeah.
Mostly high school though, yeah.
Easy to film a movie like that.
I read that the bedroom, Veronica's bedroom, was actually built in the gym.
Now, one thing I'm curious, who liked the movie?
I liked the
movie.
I did.
I think it was okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's not one of my favorite movies of all time, but
I watch it every so often. It's one of those movies that it's like, I haven't seen Heather's in a while. Let me watch it.
Because I do like it, and I think it holds up despite that. Nowadays every kid would have a cell phone, and
right?
You almost don't miss that. But like my wife came into the living room while I was watching it, and I could tell she just didn't like it at all. So.
Mm-hmm. And I can understand why, because it does have a very dark look on things. It has a very violent
and like
look
we
to
mentioned earlier, at one point we thought that stuff was funny, and now because of our experience in life and the things that have happened since, it's not funny anymore.
No, it isn't. Mm-hmm. No, it really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, just the lighting alone, if they shot that movie now, it wouldn't be as bright and like happy lit as it is now. Like there would have been a lot more shadow, and it would have had maybe like a blue tone to it, not that bright, happy colors that they had in that movie.
I understand.
It was sort of a take on suburbia, and like kid suburbia.
And then but then we look at it as a dark comedy, and then we look at it from 30 years down the road, and we look at it from being exposed to all of the various stories that are being told either in fiction or in reality today. In 2017, we can look back at this movie and go, oh, okay, you can have an entirely different appreciation for it. Mm-hmm. All right. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And I will always appreciate Christian Slater.
He made a nice little comeback with, what's it, the TV show, shoot. I even saw
I saw that. Yeah, he was. It was very short-lived.
What's the name of it? No, it's at least 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Toronto a couple years ago for Fan Expo, he was actually there promoting it and showing the first episode.
Hang on a second.
It's like a hacker show.
Mr. Robot?
Yes, Mr. Robot.
Right.
And I'm not sure what else, but he had a nice little career going. Between that and he was a kid's favorite for a while with Pump Up the Volume, and Cuffs was a movie he made. And then became a serious actor. Murder in the First was a really good movie with him and Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
Oh, he's actually in an episode of Justice League Action series, TV series. He played Deadshot in one episode.
Gotcha.
Does he still do the Jack Nicholson voice?
It's just his voice.
Yeah,
that's just him.
He's on Archer.
He
played the CIA, I think it was, character in Archer. I loved him, but he played himself as Christian Slater, who's part of the CIA.
Right.
What?
Do you remember the cameo he had in Star Trek 6?
Yes.
When he just
yes,
popped
I do.
up out of the blue, and you're like, wait.
He's like an ensign, right? Or
Yeah, he was
yes.
just communications officer, is what it says on the credits list here. But I remember, like, he suddenly is in the doorway of Sulu's room. I'm like, wait, I know who that is.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the show Archer, so I'm like sitting there watching. All of a sudden, I hear
That's
the
another
voice.
one I have not watched.
I hear the voice, and I'm like, oh, that's Christian Slater. No way, they have Christian Slater as Christian Slater.
So, all right.
Okay.
So where are we going to go with this one? Do we...
Now, I happened to find when we were talking about the different endings. I've found an interview that Entertainment Weekly was doing with all the actors and stuff, and I think the director.
Okay.
And the person that played Martha Dunstock.
Dunstock. That's
Yes,
the name I was
there's
trying to think
Dunstock.
of. Okay.
She was doing stand-up at the time, and that's whatever. So he says the ending that he thought that he should have fought harder for is where Martha Dump Truck pulls out the knife, stabs Veronica, and says, F you, Heather. And Veronica's on the ground laughing with a knife in her stomach saying, my name's not Heather, my name's not Heather, my name's not Heather. So it's being part of that Heather group. And
Gotcha.
And she was associated with the Heather even though she wasn't a Heather.
Okay.
So so that kind of gets a
That's
little
kind
more...
of dark enough to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's goes back to the reference with one of the alternate endings, and I'm like, oh, okay.
All right. How are we doing on time, Bill?
We are at 45 minutes.
That's perfect.
You like that?
I love that. I love it when we can wrap it up like that. So we are going to wrap it up at this point. And we thank you for another rousing rendition of the Mighty Monkey Not a Book Club. This has been Monkey Business. I am Chris. That is Billy. Also Tanya, Ian, Becca, and Dolly. And we thank you for listening, as always. We'll see you next week. This has been a production of the Mighty Monkey Corporation. Purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con, coming at you June 9th and 10th of 2018. Like us, love us on Facebook. www.facebook.com/FC3ROC. And we will see you next week.